powered by Dell Technologies and Arrow PC Network. The theme for today's roundtable is smart data and scalable storage for scoring business game. I am Shirley Chettiar, your host for this session. In today's data-centric world, your data is your business. Data is the key to delivering rich, personalized experience in the digital world. Data-driven digital transformation is no longer just a strategic initiative, but a new way to work, interact, and do business together with customers, employees, and with the world. Today's session will help you discover the formula of business success with smart data and scalable storage. You will also learn about the groundbreaking PowerStore family of all-flash data storage appliances that eliminate traditional trade-offs in performance, scalability, and storage efficiency. With a data-centric, intelligent, and adaptable infrastructure that transforms, mobilizes both traditional and modern workloads. Let me now introduce you to our speakers. We have with us today Mr. Priyabata Sarangi, CIO, DCM Shriram. Archie Jackson, Senior Director, Head IT and Cybersecurity, Incido Inc. Mr. Raghunathan Iyer, Group CIO, JBM Auto Limited. Mr. Parna Ghosh, Group CIO, Unominda Group. Mr. Sudhir Tanvinde, Executive Director, IT, Ministry of Shipping. Mr. Gurpreet Singh, Managing Director, Arrow PC Network. Mr. Salinder Tomar, Channel Manager, Infrastructure Solutions, Dell Technologies. Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, Senior Systems Engineer Storage, Platform and Solutions, Dell Technology. And to moderate this session, we have Mr. Biswajit Das, Director, Lighthouse, Analytics, AI and Data, KPMG in India. Without further ado, I would now like to invite Mr. Biswajit to take the conversation forward. Over to you, Mr. Biswajit.
Hey, Shirley, thanks, Tanya. It's a pleasure being here. I think I have the easiest job today, right? We've got a brilliant panel here. I don't think I'll have to do a lot of the talking. And for all the various digital platforms and forums that I've been in, I think it is expected that I start off proceedings with some reference to the pandemic, right? I think everybody sort of expects me to do that. I don't know. But honestly, obviously, this is the first global calamity of this scale that our generation has seen, right? But the difference between this and the past ones has been how the entire digital world has enabled us to sort of carry on, whether it been remaining connected and keeping ourselves sane, being able to carry on most type of businesses in one form or the other, right? Obviously, however, the pandemic has been terrible, right? Whatever lens you put on it. However, there have been some tiny, small silver linings, I think. For example, the breather that Mother Nature got out of it. People slowed down, connected with the near and dear ones. And now when we are on the path of sort of getting businesses stabilized, this is as good time as any to reflect on our learnings, one of which has been how data has firmly taken center stage in boardrooms as well as drawing room conversations, right? This has also happened because now that we have become once removed from our customers, employers, suppliers, partners, so to speak, physically we've become once removed. We are more and more having to rely on data-backed decision rather than intuition-backed decision. And that's why this entire thing around saying, okay, how do I get a better grip on my data? So there is no longer a debate on whether we should invest on data. It's more a conversation of what is the best approach for each organization, for each business, right? The idea of obviously doing this entire conversation is that this is sort of a digital version of the conversation we would have been having around a coffee table. Actually, who am I kidding? We would have been most likely having it around a drinks table, and that we would have had in times BC. I like to think that for our generation, our entire lifetime will be divided into 3 eras: before COVID, during COVID, and post COVID. So BC, DC, and PC. So, but this is how it is now. So the idea of this entire forum, I think, is to share our data journeys, our data ambitions, and of course the pains that we have faced to also ask questions, as we don't have to really reinvent the entire wheel. Somebody else might have solved our problem already, so might as well. So how do we generally just feed off each other's experience? I think that's the main idea here. Please feel free to ask specific questions about what each of us has gone through, also to share where we have seen great amounts of learning, right? To start off with, I think Sudhir, I'll quickly jump on to you, right? Simply because ports, when you look at it from a layman's everyday's, normal human beings lens, you don't really think about ports a lot. But you, I, and a lot of people on the forum know that it is actually a very intrinsic part of our everyday life also. Many things that we take for granted in our lives are actually serviced because there is this massive infrastructure around ports. And therefore, obviously, there has been in recent years a large focus on data and digitization and digital transformation of ports. So why do you think this is important, Sudhir? You're on mute, Sudhir.
Sorry for that. Yeah, so COVID-19 situation, that as you mentioned rightly, we are now on this video conferencing. Similarly, port, India is with 7,000 plus kilometer of coastline. I joined after 25 years of private sector. I was 17 years with Siemens, and then moved to in consulting, and then moved to as a CIO for 7 years, and now with Government of India through lateral entry. See, there are 7,000 kilometer coastline, and 70% of cargo shipments are through sea, and 90% by volume. I was not aware when I joined. In fact, this kind of volume, there are 13 major ports, and efficiency in ports directly contribute to GDP of our country. So this is how, once we improve efficiency, is going to help not only improve the efficiency, but end customer, like even farmer, he is going to benefit. So there are a lot of requirement for digital transformation. So, and this development will be achieved only through digitization of processes, automation of operations, gradually moving towards paperless work environment. So current and future demands cannot be met through legacy system. I'll give you one example. Just 1 hour saving of berthing time. Berthing means like anchoring, and then when ship leaves, will have a tremendous positive cascading effect, and that up to a farmer who is cultivating in the field. The benefit should ultimately reach the exporter and the consumer. See, 1 hour of saving time is like $80,000 saving. So that kind of an impact is there with digital transformation. So we started the transformation much before COVID, but helped us a lot during COVID, because entire port community system which talks to each other, that is on a cloud. And we started one more project, which is enterprise business solution, where we are enhancing infrastructure as well as one ERP, one cloud for all 13 ports. Project started. Now 6 projects are going live, first starting from the month of May. And then we will implement EBS for the remaining 7 ports. So digital transformation is really required. And because of 2 of our systems in PCS, we managed to bring ease of doing ranking up, like from 60 to 48. And for that, we received award in the month of December from President of India. So this is like,
I think absolutely brilliant. And I think this has been one of the marquee things that we have seen in the larger infrastructure transport ecosystem in India, right? And I will come back to you, because I specifically want to, so these are the good things that have been achieved, but I'm sure during the journey and even now you're seeing some challenges to do with data, right? And I'll come back to you quickly to sort of touch on that and hear about that, right? I wanted to jump to Priyabrata, because in many ways, from a technology point of view, there's a lot of adjacency between what Sudhir must be facing and what Priyabrata you would be facing in the large manufacturing sector, right? So, how has your experience with this entire digital transformation been till now, Priya?
Okay, I think most of my career, I'm in manufacturing sector. I started with manufacturing, still I'm continuing with manufacturing. If you see the Indian scenario in the manufacturing, there are very old system and very every vertical there is a several system. So for a CIO, it's a very challenging job to make to integrate with all the vertical and making in the one platform. Because see, as far as your data is concerned, as far as other automation is concerned, definitely you have to focus more on the data, how to gather data, how to implement a robust ERP. So without data, you can't do anything. Now data is asset for any organization. So in this existing organization, so we are moving. There are so many vertical. If you talk about sugar, chemical, your distillery, your textile. So now every vertical I am integrating with one platform, that is S/4HANA. And to secure my data, I have gone for my private cloud partner with a tier 4 data center. And on just this is going on, and on top of then I'll build a very AI based analytics. And this is for the business transformation. As far as HRMS transformation, also I'm going with one platform, mostly AI based platform. Already we have gone live. And now in this COVID scenario, now they understand that the power of IT. And now AI based chatbot I'm using to help the user. So no need to ask any HR person, any commercial person. People can get from the chatbot itself. So these are the things I'm doing. I'm my basic, very fundamental idea is how to make everybody in the one platform. Not only then, for IT personnel, as far as maintenance is concerned, as far as other automation is concerned, it will be very useful for me. So these are the things I'm doing, Vishwajit.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I also think at some point of time we'll talk about it, right? That while all of these are isolated core systems, so your ERP system, your HRMS system, your whatever CRM, sales, distribution, etc. When you want to take what we call a decision assist system, when you want to take a cumulative view of it, right? You can't keep just pulling data from diverse systems and make it work. And which is where how you store, how you process data, etc., right? That really comes into the fore to be able to give you that value that you have of data. Somebody very adjacent to what you do, Priyabrata, is Parna, because Parna, you have a close relationship with automobile OEMs also, right? Direct OEMs also. So I thought, and you obviously, Uno Minda has been doing a lot of IoT, AI, ML, digital transformation work. So I thought maybe a quick glimpse from you of what you have been up to in terms of all of these transformational changes.
Thank you, Viswa, and thanks to all my other co-panelists for attending this event. Viswa, think one thing just you have to understand. Automotive as an industry actually has gone through this disruption before this social disruption came in place, which is COVID. Few years back, like when we started with this ACS concept, like autonomous, connected, electric, and shared. And now, electric vehicle is a really big focus area for the industry as well as the consumers. So I think this automotive industry has already gone through disruption. And when I say disruption, this disruption is data-driven disruption. So when we look at shared mobility, it is completely managed through a data. When you look at electric vehicle, everything is data. Connected is 100% data. So automotive as an industry is completely data-driven, industry at this point of time. And I believe in future, this data will be not only from the consumer point of view, also from the manufacturer, from the R&D, from sales and marketing, from supply chain, from all angles. Data will be key to delivery, success, digital transformation, whatever you say. Now, from our organization, we have taken certain projects on data, especially on the data side is implementation of big data. Now we have planned for starting with the the forecasting and planning area. As you know, we are highly dependent or heavily dependent on the OEMs, where the fluctuations happen on a very, very frequent basis, and we are not able to do a proper justice for our planning. So for planning, we are, planning and forecasting, especially, we want to have this big data in place, which will churn out a huge amount of data, which has been provided as a forecast by the OEMs. Then we see the market trends, then we see the environmental impact, then we also see our internal supply chain issues, and do a better forecasting in terms of what we should produce and what we should inventorize and something like that. It will not only help in reducing the working capital, it will also help in improving the efficiency, improving the accuracy, improving the overall supply chain efficiency in the entire spectrum. This is one type of projects we are doing. Apart from that, with data, which we are also doing, we have recently implemented a document management system, which is to do with the unstructured data in the organization and how to make a structure out of an unstructured data. So I think it's a very interesting project. Many organizations have already done this DMS project, but in automotive, it is very unique because you have so much of unstructured data, starting from your R&D to marketing to supply chain to human resource and finance and so on and so forth. I think this is the second thing I can tell you. And third is data-driven analytics, which we started 3 years back, which is basically dashboarding, predictive analytics, historical analytics. Now we are also moving towards prescriptive analysis. So I think this is what we have taken. If you see from an overall data, I will say strategy point of view, one is a big data implementation for sales, planning and forecasting. Second is document management system, which is also to do with unstructured data, but structuring it properly for search and other relevant exercises. Also, it gives you the benefit of data management policy. So your complete data lifecycle management happens in the DMS. And the third piece is the data analytics, which is dashboards and making the prescriptive, predictive, and stuff like that. And in future, we are also going to look at AI-driven cognitive data analytics, which is a new field which is coming up very, very fast. And we are keen to look at that as a POC in future. So this is what is our complete journey in terms of data management.
So I think Parno, this is also this will also be, I think, resonated by other people on the panel and a lot of other technology heads outside, right? That largely we have seen this is the journey that a mature data organization takes. But then also at some point of time, I think the realization hits that while you can continue to have point solutions for solving a certain problem that you have or an ambition that you have. So you could have a model for forecasting demand, for example, right? Or you could have a model for figuring out a golden run in your manufacturing unit, etc., etc. But suddenly then you figure out if you really want to scale them, right? What you need as a foundation is that layer that you were talking about, right? Whether big data has become very often cited, so I hesitate to use it, but essentially a data foundation which allows you to store all of this, to curate all of this, so that then you can run multiple use cases on top of it. And I was going to come to you because I think we slightly spoke about this before when you and I were chatting, that everybody wants to do, the first thing to do is, I want to do AI, I want to do ML, I want to do predictive, because these are the sexy things. These are the things that when you go out to a conference, this is what you hear, right? And you do those, and then suddenly you figure out that we have to quickly come back, right? And at the foundational level, if you really want to scale this into multiple pilots, multiple production models, you have to come back and create that entire data foundation, right? And obviously you have a lot of, I think, relevant learning, which will sort of benefit all of us here.
Thanks, Mr. Hi to everyone. I'm going to take 2 minutes in building the base for giving the deliberations of the statement which you have given. Within our group, we have a different vertical. One is auto part manufacturing. The other one is OEM bus manufacturing. And we have renewable energy, where solar-based energy generation. And the next one is EV infrastructure. EV infrastructure, which includes EV power infrastructure, EV standalone related, which is coming up new. If you look into that, there are certain legacies available in the auto parts manufacturing, where we have more learnings, which we will try to cover. But how we have realized that we could not, what we should have done earlier, which we have not done, with the other EV infrastructure we will look into. When we were in the process of deploying solar-based power generation project, we realized that many of the data which is available in parts, auto parts manufacturing, were already available, where machine was ready to tell and talk about itself about various stage. For example, I am not feeling well, I need some rest. It was informing us. So this is the first learning we had when we did the deployment of solar energy, where we had 500 acres of land covered with all panels, only 15 people managing the whole show of maintaining. We realized when machine is trying to give some information, are we in a position to understand what it says? When we can understand what the solar panel is telling, why a machine which PLC or which is giving information, why we are not in a position to do that? We started thinking on those lines. That is learning number one. Number two, the learning was when in the auto parts manufacturing, when the machine was not working right, during COVID, the engineer who is there outside India, he collected data remotely, did some analysis, and then said, do this work. We got it rectified. Then we realized much more that we should have used the already available data and try to draw the right kind of information and bring in corrections, so that we are in a position to use the asset in a better way. The third learning, if you look into that, when we were in the process of deploying AI-based solution on manufacturing, we felt very clearly that we have to take 3 different kind of environment we should have adopted. We were of that opinion when we started. We felt that only third party will be in a position to do everything right, because burning our fingers and try to fail fast kind of thing we started. And then we realized, no, we should have an internal team built, so that whatever is possible, we should do it internally. When we were deploying using the internal team, we realized very clearly that if you want to scale high, you need to have partners who can contribute to your weakness, so that we can grow fast and get the technology deployed right quickly, and then embrace the advantages much faster. So if you look into that, don't try to take only one single way. Try to see what is available in the market, try to make use of them, build internal team, so that certain things which are going to be very costly outside can get, will help that internal team doing that for you. For scaling, use others to make, and the fourth most important thing is try to believe in yourself, because when we started 4 years back, our confidence was not that much. Now we are thinking of selling the products outside the JVM group. We have grown to that level. So this learning is very important, because we think when we think different, we get answers much quicker. Thank you.
I think absolutely, and I think the proof of the pudding, like we say, is in the eating, right? So we are doing very similar work with India's largest automobile OEM, very close to where I think, Parna, very close to your office, and your office is in the same vicinity, right? What we have done there is also very similar. So we have hived it off into two parts. One is the data engineering part, and one is the data science part. And in both of them, while they have created their own core teams, we sort of go in, augment with specialists where needed. And then once that work is done, we sort of scale back and come off those projects, right? We call it a data COE. And that sort of model, I think we've seen working very, very well. Archie, you would have a fair amount of experience with multiple sectors, right? Because obviously you help multiple sectors as an organization, etc. What are your views on how people are looking at the part of data where, so we all understand the end outcomes, right? We all want to get dollar value out of all of this, right? But how do you look at it when people say, how do I manage my data? How do I store it? How do I process it? And so on and so forth.
It's in fact, a very logical question here, because that's a very general thought process of leaders who deal with data. How do we process it? Where do we store it? How do we manage it? So, I mean, in the current trend, data is the new oil, as we all know. So everything revolves around data. And in terms of the different sectors I've dealt with, so in a previous organization as well as current. So my current organization is into very strongly into data science, data analytics, and a lot of projects around Lighthouse and a lot of stuff going on. So we, in that particular sense, we are quite mature enough, and we have a very planned strategy. Let's say from data governance standpoint. So we started with a very core data classification. So from the data classification and data processing, data management, so the entire ecosystem of the life cycle. So that's well looked at, evaluated, and planned. And where all the internal, or if it may be a kind of a client project where we are working on some, let's say, some an analytical product being designed, evaluated, working in that particular area. So in that particular sense, the entire, I mean, all the next gen strategies, next gen tool sets are all evaluated, looked at, best in class from security, best in class from analytics, let's say, and from the governance standpoint. So, I mean, end to end depends on the kind of customer we are catering and what exactly data is being processed. And then, in fact, as it's quite commonly being said, without execution, strategy has no role to play. So in that particular sense, it's the projects have a strong strategy, but the execution around the data management tool sets is at top priority. And also, I mean, being a cloud first organization, most of the stuff, internal as well as for our clients, that's all over the cloud. Say it be, I mean, analytics and all, that's definitely on more SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS space. But even from the internal standpoint, the internal data, let's say financial data, the HR data, and everything, it's all cloud. So yeah.
So I think actually, and I cannot agree more with you, because people keep saying this. You can't walk through a data conference without somebody shouting at you saying data is the new oil, data is the new oil. And I keep telling people, right, this is my pet peeve. I said, have you ever seen a situation where you go to a oil-rich place, you sink a oil well, then you pull out a bucket of crude, pour it into your car, and drive away? Is that how you use oil, right? So therefore, that same entire process of pulling out crude, then putting it through the entire refining process and getting it to a place and a form in which it can be consumed is very, very important, right? And like you said, implementation eats strategy for breakfast. So it doesn't matter what beautiful slideware strategy you have. When you go down to, and one of the best examples is data management and data governance. No organization said, I want to do brilliant data management. You hear everybody says, I want to do AI, I want to do ML, I want to do deep learning, blah, blah, blah. So data management is actually an unwanted byproduct of necessity, because when people went to do this at scale, they figured out, oh my God, if I don't have a catalog, if I don't have a governance mechanism, data stewardship, blah, 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 none of this works, right? Sudhir, now I'm actually just trying to focus on the data problems that a lot of us, ran smack into while we had larger ambitions around analytics and digital, etc. And suddenly we figured out, oh my God, the basic structure of it is data, and I don't know how to handle so much data, so many different types of data. How do I make them homogeneous and so on and so forth? So maybe Sudhir, some of your learnings, experiences there.
See, 13 ports. Out of that, Calcutta port is 150 years old. So imagine like a huge books, and so we started scanning around 1.5 years back, and currently digitalization of that data is in progress. We are scanning all documents, we are structuring. We moved 13 data centers, not 13 at this point, but six data centers to one data center. And so the whole idea is to save time, save money, and save environment. And smart port is all about how to improve customer experience. So from digitized ports to automated ports. And for that, we need data analytics or data. Data needs to be available, like data needs to be there. So optimization of solutions. So at the same time, most of our major ports are near cities. And whenever one big, very large container ship comes, the required trucks required are 5,000 trucks. So imagine what kind of a congestion happens. And also, so we started collecting data from not only from ports, but also from smart cities. So smart cities and smart port goes hand in hand. Now there is a e-Vahan, e-Sarthi, and you not believe every vehicle that goes from toll plaza, that is also scanned, and that data is also shared with us. It's at a very initial stage. We are preparing prototype for this, but because of this tremendous growth in container sector, huge data is getting generated at our JNPT port, Kandla port, Haldia port. And when we stitch this data, like because of this heavy truck movement across ports, and as I mentioned, e-Vahan and e-Sarthi, so we connect to even NHI system where truck when it comes to port, the gate opens automatically. So this is all kind of a efficiency, but that we are collecting the data. Now next plan is to stitch this data. Stitch data from NHI, stitch data from smart city, and stitch data from ports, and make sure that end customer will get benefit. And this is possible with AI ML. Then as previous speaker mentioned, data is there. Now how to improve that data, the quality of data, and use predictive analysis and prescriptive analysis. So I'll tell you real-time info, like real-time information about vessel arrival and departure can be achieved with this. And with this, we can reduce berthing time. So this is all currently in pipeline.
Correct. I agree, Sudhir, because so we are working with one of the other port organizations at Mundra and Hazira, right, to do very similar. The idea is to have a 360-degree view of your entire chain, right? Because it's not just the ships, it's the railway connectivity, it's the land connectivity, even where loading, unloading both, right? It's a massive, humongous, and for anybody who hasn't seen a large port, I think we should all go and see it once, because the first time I went to Mundra, I was spellbound. I didn't know the sort of monstrosity a port can be, right? You never think about this. I think this is very important because also at some point of time, it is not enough to have the data, right? Do we have the capability to sometimes the amount of time, effort, and money you spend on storing it and processing it, right, does not give you the ROI that you want as a business outcome out of it, right? And I think that's where a lot of these new capabilities and products that, and at some point of time I will go to Shailendra and Sandeep to talk. I think they've got some fairly exciting new news there, right, of how these sort of platforms allow you to store them, process them, ensure both with speed and cost effectiveness, also ensure that they are safe, and all of that hygiene is maintained, all under the same larger umbrella. I think is very, very important, right? I quickly, Priya, I wanted to jump to you because you have, like you said, right, you have deployed multiple types of we've deployed information retrieval systems like chatbots. You've got other AI models in place, right? And I'm guessing that many of them would have been in isolation, in the sense that the chatbot is a separate project. It got took up as a separate engagement, right? And therefore, maybe some of your other analytical models got took up as a separate project, etc., etc. Have you seen the problem of unification of data?
Yeah, if you see my the business vertical, the rayons, the textile, it's 100%, 95% export oriented. If you see my chemical business is highly sensitive as far as process is concerned, as far as data, because mostly our customer is pharmaceutical. Okay, so that's why my approach, definitely the ERP part similar for everybody, but as far as data security, data management part is different from each other, and the requirement also each other. You can't compare with your textile with your chemicals or chemicals with your sugar, like that. So my solution is specific to business, although the base platform is similar for everybody. So if you talk about HRMS is a standard function which is applicable for all the verticals. In HRMS, we have built a chatbot which is helping users. Just we have implemented and it has started. So earlier it was that whatever they need, they must go to HR and ask HR. This is the what are the process for this? If a new person join, always he asks HR person what are the procedure. Now there is nothing to ask anybody. Just you log on in the system, chatbot is there. Whatever you want to ask, just ask chatbot. Chatbot will provide everything. Even video training also available in the chatbot. You download, you ask the chatbot, chatbot will give you the video training. Just see the video and go ahead. Okay. Similar in the my rayons business, the textile business. Besides, we can't believe there are a lot of data generation is happening, but we are not capturing the data. My promoter is always asking how I can get the data based on my KPI. See, his promoter is asking for KPI. If you don't build your KPI up to your shift level, then you can't get the data. So that process I am going on. So I have started KPI journey just after this implementation. I am going for KPI. KPI means it's KPI for shift in charge, from shift in charge up to chairman level.
Absolutely.
Okay. So see now during this COVID or before this COVID also, now promoter not only promoter, the head of the organization also, you need to measure your performance. So without KPI, you can't measure your performance. And for the namesake, if you put KPI in the dashboard and you are taking data manually, everything, I think that is not successful. That's why I'm building that part. Right from your production, operation, your commercial, everything. So I'm building one by one the KPI process, which will be reflected in the dashboard of the promoter, not only promoter, also HOD. If you talk about the distillery part, distillery is very, very different from other part, and legally and all the things are very, very stringent. So there is a separate business process matrix for that part. So if you see the business based on business need and based on the requirement, and as a IT leader, you must take a step and convince management that these are the things is required and these are the value addition. So ultimately, you have to see your ROI in front of the management. I think with the good, with the proper business logic, you can convince them.
I absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Priya, I absolutely agree. I think IT leaders have a major say in how businesses are making decisions today, rather than just being there to sort of keep the lights on. I'll quickly, I think we are at the fag end of the conversation. Parna, I just quickly want to come to you to say, what are the data and maybe data and data infrastructure related problems that you are trying to solve right now?
See, first of all, the most important part is out of your tons and tons of data, what is the useful data and what is not useful data. So data classification, I think Archie was mentioning earlier, is one of the most pressing need to really find out which is important and urgent. Like many times we say everything is urgent, everything is important, but actually we need to actually segregate what is important, what is urgent, and what is really required for your future business need. Because there will be tons of data. We need to do deduplication. We need to classify the data into multiple, business requirements, and then accordingly do a storage also. Like if you ask Dell or someone, they will tell you tiering of storage is very, very important. Tiering means nothing like which data to keep in what kind of storage, and then how to source the data or retrieve the data very fast. So this is the first thing we are doing right now, data classification project. Which is also linked with data loss prevention project, because once you do the classification of the data, you need to also find out which data to go to whom and which data should be accessed by whom. So the access control part is extremely important in terms of the data management policy. Second thing, as I told you, once this importance of the data is found out, we are already in the process of doing the project of big data. And big data is mostly important for the right decisions. See, many times we generate many MIS especially in automotive. You will see most of the MIS is not at all useful for taking decisions. These are all historical data just for the sake of seeing the data. That's it. So we are trying to understand what is important for making decisions in an appropriate manner, so that data will be used for doing the through AI/ML codes. Also, obviously, we need to understand and analyze the data for the right decision making. And third thing is, since cyber security has become extremely important, the data safety or the security part, is one of the another major thrust we are putting up. How to ensure that the data is safeguarded, it is not lost. Especially in automotive, in our kind of scenario, we have a lot of intellectual property, which is in terms of designs, drawings, customer information, supplier information, in terms of technology. So I think that is extremely important in terms of data safety and security. And that is a third major focus area in terms of our organization, how to safeguard the interest of the organization in terms of data security.
But I think you have ticked off all the main things that would be there in all three, I think, right? The data foundation, number one, the data management, so classification, cataloging, business glossary, dictionary, access control, etc., and then finally the entire privacy security, whether it is cyber security, whether it is DLPL, access management, all of that. I think they should firmly be in everybody's, and everybody is at different stage of this maturity, right? Every organization is a different stage, but these three are firmly there, I think, in everybody's radar. Iyer, I also wanted to sort of come back to you. You started your, JBM started their data journey in many cases a little while ahead of other people, right? While you are being modest in saying it was a tentative start and so on and so forth, but you did. And therefore, it becomes interesting to see what data challenges, not necessarily business outcomes, because these will keep evolving. Business, what you want as an outcome will keep evolving, right? What data challenges are you trying to solve right now, or would you want to solve?
See, data challenges, it'll remain forever. We were talking about silos of data. If you are going to have different business verticals, the way of looking the data of one particular process itself varies. In our case, for example, when we are talking about the data which we wanted as far OEM is concerned, as against a particular auto part component or a EV, the requirement is entirely different. The way of thinking, as far, let us take an example of PLM. We are talking about engineering automation. When we are trying to do that, the way OEM division is formulating different strategies is entirely different from what is happening for a auto parts component, or maybe a EV battery manufacturing division. So we are really struggling how to unify the data across multiple platforms. It is a issue. I will take another example of integrating supplier. The way we are trying to integrate supplier is entirely different for these three kinds of business requirements. Because when you are talking about OEM, they are cautious on more on the quality perspective and ensuring the quality parameters are being captured when the goods are reaching our OEM plant as compared to the other divisions. So the unification of a particular process across is an issue.
Yeah.
That is a major challenge which we are facing.
And especially when you look at MES data, for example, if you're looking at MES data, right? If you're looking at time series from historians, SCADAs, etc., what happens is because they were built, they came from different platforms and different partners, right? When you want to do an apple-to-apple comparison of two plant sites or two different processes, it becomes a huge amount of problem. While as a business, you want to look at it like that, right?
If I talk about IoT, it is much more because I don't want to touch that because we are in the nascent stage. It is just 2 to 3 years we are embracing that. So I don't want to talk about that. But otherwise also the challenges on unifying across business verticals, the silos will remain. Maybe we can reduce to the larger extent.
Yes, I agree. I will have we'll have a sidebar conversation on it because this is a problem that we're seeing across the board, right? In many places. I know, I'm being pushed for time. Sandeep, I wanted to quickly come to you because what has also happened is technology is now rapidly evolving to take care of a lot of these problems that we have heard of, because that's how it happens, right? You speak to your customers, you figure out what they want, R&D lab back again with a solution, and it's a cycle, right? And I think it's interesting to sort of hear from you and then maybe move on to Shailendra to see how how this evolution is happening, what is the next new thing, etc., that you have on offer.
Right. Thanks, Biswajit. So, it was great to hear from everyone on the panel today. So the important thing is the digital transformation. We all know that, it is in the core of every business, and especially the COVID and this pandemic times has really accelerated the digital transformation journey for all the customers, right? But what actually fuels digital transformation is the IT transformation. And that's where the modern data center, which each of the customer representing here, they must be thinking about, modernizing their data centers. And to modernize a data center, there are, 6 key pillars. And as I heard from, different people here, the key pillars, they are appropriately fit for, different requirements of theirs. So one of the key pillars is your all-flash storage, like Mr. Parna discussed about the, tiering of storage. So, but now data classification and different data tiering, but one of the main key pillars has been all flash. Industry has been moving to all flash. For the lower latencies, customers are looking to store their data in all flash storage for the faster response time. Scale out, a lot of, I heard Mr. Iyer and, Mr. Parna as well talking about the scalability, the data is growing exponentially. How you manage the data when it is growing so much, you need to have a storage solution which can scale out, to multiple controllers at the back end so that you can store exponential of data, right? And, similarly, deduplication and the compression algorithm, which Mr. Parna was talking about, that is obviously one of the key ingredients to store the data in an all-flash storage. And then trust, right? We heard about cybersecurity and, all the other key intrinsic security parameters, which are important, and data governance. And trust has to be there for any data storage platform to have, right? AI/ML, again, I've heard from 2 or 3 customers here who are really interested about, data analytics, and Mr. Sudhir talking about how, taking those intelligent business decisions using analytics so that they can take, faster decision and, faster go to market, things. They can release the ship early. All those kind of things, AI/ML plays a role, and that is one of the key pillars in a modern data center, right? And then obviously your software defined, and again, last point, cloud connectivity, right? I heard almost every person here talking about, taking some or other application of theirs to cloud. Every storage platform need to have connectivity to the cloud. That's a key thing for any storage platform to have in today's age. So these are the 6 key pillars of a modern data center where all storage platforms should have these capabilities inbuilt as part of the solution to store that exponential data growth. And obviously, since you use all flash using the latest NVMe and the storage drives in your storage, then you can store exponential data. How you by reducing the footprint? How you do that? You do that by storing, removing the deduplicates, as Mr. Parna talked about. Remove the deduplicates and compress your data for SAP HANA, for Oracle DB, for unstructured data, like if you have the customer talking about some unstructured data is there which needs to be stored. Remove the duplicacy, compress it, and store it. For multiple applications, whether the structured or unstructured kind of data. Those key pillars really play a big part here. And then obviously, then Dell EMC has, all the solutions, what I've heard from different people here about big data solutions or the solutions connecting to the cloud where they can tier to the cloud or they can prepare a DR to the cloud or take some of the applications live on the cloud and then taking back on premise as well in case of any business requirement. So Dell EMC has multiple portfolio, big portfolio, and we have a lot of, products to cater to all the business requirement which customer has. So, that's Biswajit about, about the key pillars, I think, which are mandatory and essential for, all our customers to make a, take their journey to the digital transformation, which they are really hoping for.
I think absolutely, Shailendra. I think I'll quickly come to you and hear what's new and exciting happening in that space.
So thanks, Biswajit, and really appreciate the thoughtfulness that I'm seeing from the stalwarts of the industry here. See, as you rightly said, I'll pick up your line itself, that taking the oil from the well and just you can't put it into a car. Makes sense, because see, it's all about data. What is the worth of the data? We need to really unlock the value of that data. That is primarily important, and that will deliver the business results, as said by Priya also, that the organization is looking for the outcomes, right? How much that is worth the revenue for them. So I can create the data, but if I'm not utilizing that data in a right manner, and secondly, we need to spin that data faster to use. I can store the data if not able to analyze it and utilize it. Doesn't make sense, right? So when we look at those kind of things that we at Dell are developing, as my colleague Sandeep has also said, that the portfolio of Dell is totally focused upon a unified workspace, wherein we are talking about complete communication and utilization of data from client to the data center, and which seamlessly moves through your entire application architecture. So the products, the solutions that we have created, they are very much flexible. Rather, I would say they are simple to use. You buy a storage or buy a server from us, apps ready solutions are available. You are nowhere required to go to any expert. And I mean, we come up with a portfolio which we call it do it yourself. So that's the availability of the resources built in those products that we are talking about. When we look at the ergonomics or the ease to use the product, like in terms of laptops and all, we look at the feel good factor of the users. So that's how the things comes into picture. And this finally lead to the complete total satisfaction. And once you're satisfied, whether you're working from site or you're working from home, then your productivity increases. And that's how answer to Priya's requirement, that when so much so people are working and so much data is being created, and it is, and the tools and techniques that you are being utilized, they're helping you to improve the productivity of the entire ecosystem. And that's how you save the dollars, save the money for your organization. And hence, IT setup becomes a revenue saver, or I would say revenue creator for the organization.
I think brilliantly put, Shailendra. I cannot agree more. No right-minded organization today looks at IT as a cost center, right? You are looked at as definitively somebody who saves money, but also somebody whose ideas can also make money, right? I think it's very brilliant. The other thing that you said is what I really like, because if you look at it, right, from having been a generation of people who liked to be dependent on non-core things to other people. So I would be happy to say, hey, listen, this is this guy's job, that is that guy's job, and once he does it, I will do my job. We have all gone from there over many few decades to now where I want to do self-serve. I don't want to have dependency on anybody. And whether it is in as small as thing as the consumption of data, saying, okay, give me a list of KPIs, I'll do it myself, to actually the infra saying, when I want to allocate resources or scale up, etc., within reason, I should be able to do it myself. So therefore, I think bang on. To sort of pull all of this together, Gurpreet, I thought it is just apt that you come in, right, and sort of some resemblance of sense to this entire chaotic world that we live in terms of data.
Thank you, Vishwa. Thanks for asking. Thank you very much to all the panelists. It was actually a pleasure to listen to you and challenges which you are facing, and the way you are solving your issues and problems, and how you are actually making sense to your business using the IT. Well, use the words which I have been using from all of you guys. Data is the asset, data is the oil. You want to save time, money, and environment, and you want to make sure that the usage of IT is generating the revenues for your organizations. Being ROPC Network, a Titanium partner for Dell Technologies, we are a ISO certified system integrator. We are here to integrate and deploy all the solutions for you, which are available from Dell Technologies. We can serve you from cable to cloud, all the challenges that you are facing, all the solutions which you are providing within your organization to your users. I'll say, please take our support wherever you are looking at, and our teams have the capability to handle all the challenges which you are having. Leave all those challenges to us so that you can keep on focusing on your business challenges and your business outputs. And I'm sure the production solutions from Dell Technologies, integration and deployment from ROPC Network, and all the energy which you guys are putting into solving your problems within your organizations, it will be a really great combination. Together, we'll be able to reach out all the destinations which we are discussing. Thank you very much.
I think
so. Vijit, just
yeah,
a second. Just to add to Gurpreet, one thing which when you started this note, then in the pandemic scenario, so in fact, Gurpreet is one of the strongest partner who came up along with his team and provided many of our customers a lot of support, where in terms of customer were having challenges of manpower not coming to their site, and they had some data migration issues, and many customer wanted to have a readiness to work from home. So Gurpreet's team did a tremendous job during those days for certain set of customers.
And I think, Shailendra, these are the stories of bravery that never get there, right? I mean, not to take away from all the other frontline people who have been working during this pandemic, but there are a lot of these other stories which have helped keep everybody afloat, sane, etc. We just don't get out there. But anyway, I think for a change, we're very much on time, right? I would actually, my request would be, if this was in the BC era, before COVID era, we would have exchanged business card, we would have exchanged phone numbers, we would have probably kept in touch. What I have noticed is generally a lot of these online forums, maybe after we get off, maybe not a lot of us actually remain connected. And that's something I have been trying to change. I ensure generally after this, I drop everybody a note so that, you have an email, etc. I hope you will keep that little connection alive, like we had actually met at a conference hall somewhere, had dinner, and then kept in touch with each other. Please feel free to reach out to one another, because I think there's a lot to learn from what all of us are doing. right? Like Ayer was saying, this is a journey where a lot of learning can come from each other and we can figure out stuff, right? I think I have had a brilliant time. I hope you guys found it useful too. I hope everybody found it useful too. Thank you, everyone. Shirley, I will hand off to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Viswa, for the same. I would now like to introduce our speaker. Sorry, I think my screen just got frozen. I would now like to invite Sandeep Agarwal from Dell Technologies to, sum up the entire conversation and share his views. Over to you, Sandeep.
Yeah, thanks, Shirley. So all dear customers, thank you so much, for giving us the opportunity to, listen to you and what you have been doing through in this challenging times and how you are digitally transforming your infrastructure space to make your applications run better, right? So as I was talking about the key pillars, and Shailendra talking about how we are keeping up with the new generation products. So PowerStore has been a new product which Dell EMC has launched, and it has been designed for the data era to manage that exponential data growth in the infrastructure space, which a lot of you people are experiencing, and it has automation inbuilt into it. And and as part of doing that, we would like an opportunity to discuss with you if you have any particular kind of requirements regarding the a lot of application, a lot of digital transformation going on in your respective data centers, and how we can Dell EMC can help you to take your journey to the completion, to digitally transform by transforming your IT infrastructure, by modernizing the data center you have, by giving the right kind of products enabled with right kind of technologies, what Shailendra just mentioned a minute before, and using the key pillars like the AI/ML, obviously the center of everything, and we have our primary storage all inbuilt along with capabilities of AI/ML. So yes, I mean, looking forward to working with you, and an opportunity to assess your environment if you have. And please, looking forward to those opportunities and connect after with you after this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I think it's been brilliant. I have had a great time.
Thank you so much, Sandeep and Viswajit. With this, we now end the session, which has been very interesting and perspective, and I'm sure our participants who've joined us would have got some rewarding insights today. I would definitely thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge and experience with us, and we look forward to partnering with you yet again for our future endeavors, especially you, Viswa, for holding up the entire discussion together. And I also thank the audience as well for being with us during the Economic Times Digital Roundtable powered by Dell Technologies and ROPC Network. Please join us for more such webinars. This is Shirley Chettiar signing off. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.